This is an Argo City Extra.
We are back to continue our discussion, not just of X2, but really of our kind of rediscovery of X-Men in general.
We have a very interesting cast with us this time around.
We do.
I remember watching as soon as Mr. Blue Cat comes up, and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, like, is this Beast? No, it's not Beast. You're not as bulky. And I looked at him and I was like, oh! And I couldn't come up with the name. And then as they said it, I ran up and I was like, I knew it!
So, yes, because you've seen him in X-Men.
Yeah, he's in the animated X-Men, isn't he?
He is. He's got guest stars. And you know what? He's also in some of the comics. And I've slipped you some of the comics here and there. You know, he's fat. Now, that's Alan Cummings. And he is the record label dude in Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah.
Which we love. Look, if we ever go back and do a rewind podcast, Josie and the Pussycats is like probably first up because we keep talking about it. Alan Cummings is amazing in most stuff, but that's probably the one you know him from. Mm-hmm. You can't tell under the demonic blue makeup.
Yeah.
That's something funny though too. Like he's coming to rescue the kids, and your reaction is, "Don't worry, friendly blue guy."
I'm a friendly blue guy. Because he is friendly blue guy.
He really is, and that's fundamental, I think, to his character. That I look like the scariest, most demonic thing on earth.
Yeah.
And yet, it's not. He's friendly. He's
like
funny.
Yeah.
He's goofy. He's also deeply, deeply religious. Mm-hmm. Even in the movie, and I think props to them for including this because it's so fundamental to his character. He's constantly carrying his crucifix. He is praying. He says a prayer over the tragedy at the end, which we will get to.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler's an ordained minister. This is not a small thing. This is fundamental to who he is. And it's a beautiful juxtaposition what he looks like.
Has he ordained any X-Men weddings?
Yes, I'm almost certain that he has. But it's a thing with him. He doesn't show up in any of the other movies.
Oh, he doesn't?
No, and you almost get the feeling like he's going to. But no.
I guess he just wanted to help this one time.
Yeah. I wish they'd done more with him. But then also I wish we were in an era where we could see his like proper costume. Because his proper costume hasn't changed a whole lot in 40 years. There's a lot of like background characters too.
I really loved watching. Oh man, I am so terrible.
You
with
were
names.
watching Shadowcat, the one that teleports, teleporting through her bed.
Well, but that's not the one I was going towards.
Okay.
But no, she was actually very funny watching her attempt to flee from the soldiers.
Yeah, fades through the bed.
She falls through the bottom fades through the bed and the floor after she gets jump scared, then proceeds to run through a person, through multiple walls, and somehow ends up on the other side, which you know what? You go, girl. I am so proud of her.
They never name her.
They don't?
No, you never hear her name in the movie.
No.
I'm sitting here. I'm telling you the names. The girl that's screaming, that's Siren. That's Banshee's daughter. Banshee was one of the original Claremont X-Men. There's Kitty Pryde. Yeah, she's phasing through. Oh, look, I gotta freeze frame this because there's Dr. Hank McCoy. That's Beast on TV. He doesn't look like Beast, but that's him.
Yeah.
They do this constantly. I love this about this movie, that they are shoving as much as they can, as many of these characters in, even if it's just a cameo. You're watching for Jubilee.
Also not the one I was going towards, but yeah, that as well. I really liked seeing her, like...
And it's just sitting in class.
I was expecting to see her, but they didn't give her coat, which is like, okay, you know what? I don't respect that. I want to see my coat. I was watching our blue shapeshifter girl.
You were watching Mystique.
Mystique. Sorry, I'm terrible at remembering her name because I was really curious about her whole transforming thing, and can I just say I love the visuals. It looks like she's like piling scales or feathers, more like feathers, onto her body.
I think Scales
And
is
it's
probably
like-
closer,
I know
but
Scales is
it
closer,
looks like, yeah.
It's gorgeous. And we get to see a lot of her powers, which is like shape-shifting, but also with the voice. And I was sitting here just randomly thinking about it as you mentioned it. And I was like, okay, so she's able to copy the voice. At first I was thinking, okay, maybe when she transforms into a person, she also transforms like even their internal organs. And she like gains their ability to speak through their vocal cords. But then she did it like without transforming, and that kind of disproved my thing. But how cool would it have been for that to be like a reasoning behind it? And for even for like, what if someone had, I don't know, let's say asthma? How would you be able to recreate that kind of with, well, aside from acting? I don't know. That whole like transformation idea was very interesting to me.
She is very interesting, and I love that we get to see her real face.
Yeah.
Because Rebecca Rajam, we saw her in The Punisher, and she's playing a very different kind of character. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed out that, okay, that's her, and that's actually her real face. You get to see it for a little bit here.
She's like so clever. Just like she transforms into a janitor as she's like taking out the trash when she almost gets caught gathering data. And it was like, yeah, nobody ever looks at the janitor. You go.
I see. That's so much fun that you point that out, because if I go back to some of my favorites, one of the disguises of the Shadow,
Oh no.
it's a regular disguise. He is Fritz the janitor who cleans up the police station.
Oh.
And he shows up as Fritz several times in the pulps, several times in the comics. You are right. Nobody looks at the janitor. It's kind of like what we always talk about
Nobody
in public.
ever
Nobody looks up.
And they even call to it here with Black Cat, or with our guy in the tree as he's listening in on the conversation, and they do look up, which is like, okay, they did look up, I guess.
One more thing about Mystique, just before we jump off of her. So after like part 3, they'd go back and they were trying to recast with younger actors, and let's look at the beginning maybe, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Do you know who they recast Mystique as?
Wasn't it Jennifer Lawrence?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen her talking about it on Hunger Games panels before.
So I thought that was interesting. I thought you'd be cool with. I thought you'd think that was. We see Colossus in here too. Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting. Now, sitting here in like 2026, because all the Deadpool movies are done.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we properly see Colossus. We're seeing him as a kid, and by the time we hit Deadpool, he's an adult. He's a full-fledged X-Men.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting that, 20 years later, yeah, I think he's probably aged 20 years. It's an interesting arc, I think, to watch with him. Yeah. Even the little kid, Artie, the one with the green tongue, that's an actual character.
That's
like
hilarious.
all of this stuff. Yeah, I love all of this.
Oh my god, I just realized him. It's like a lizard. He can't be in the cold. That's what paralyzed him. I couldn't understand why Wolverine was like carrying him with him when he went on his side quest. I was like, why don't you just put the kid and bring him back to the other adults? But no, that makes sense, and I love that detail.
You know, we talked all this time about like Magneto and Mystique. And the thing is, they're not the bad guy. They're not the villain in this movie. We saw so much time talking about like the evil mutants, but the actual bad guy, that's William Stryker. So this guy is played by Brian Cox. I love Brian Cox for reasons that you do not know.
Okay.
So this actor, first and foremost, like, he does a series that I like, the Sharpe, SHARPE series. It's a British series during the Napoleonic War about a soldier that gets promoted from the ranks, becomes an officer. There's a whole series of books by Bernard Cornwell about these. We've talked about it before. And there's a few, they may as well be TV movies. They're like 2-parter episodes, an hour each, starring Sean Bean, who would become a big thing later on.
Yeah.
Well, Brian Cox is like one of the administrative good guys there. He's the secret agent. He's Lord Wellington's right-hand man. And so that's where I really get used to him from. But even before that, Brian Cox plays Hannibal Lecter. Like as in Silence of the Lambs, as in Red Dragon. Brian Cox is the first person to play Hannibal Lecter.
Is Hannibal Lecter really bloody?
Little bit. We do need to get into it.
I need to see that one just for context.
Because everybody thinks of Anthony Hopkins, or maybe the TV show, which with Mads Mikkelsen, but mostly Anthony Hopkins. But before Anthony Hopkins took over the role in Silence of the Lambs, there's a movie called Manhunter. And it's directed by Michael Mann, like Miami Vice Michael Mann. Long, flashing neon lights and thumping adult contemporary rock music like Phil Collins. Bum, 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 bum. That kind of stuff floating in the air. And he did this movie. Manhunter is a adaptation of Red Dragon. It stars William Peterson, who Mom knows from CSI. That's Gil Grissom. That's like the main character. And Hannibal Lecter shows up, and it's Brian Cox, not Anthony Hopkins. I love Brian Cox in anything that I see him in. And so this was so much fun to watch him in because he is so villainous. They are combining a couple of different characters into one here. They're combining the villain from God Loves, Man Kills, in who was campaigning against mutants, whose son was a mutant, along with the army general who basically turned Wolverine into what he is.
Yeah. And
Brian Cox pulls it off. This is a middle-aged, portly dude, my age, my size, and he is so sinister it hurts.
Yeah.
You love to hate this guy.
Yeah, he's terrible. I really did. And speaking of, well, the bad guy, I did want to talk about one of the moments in the facility where he is discovering, where Wolverine is discovering more about his past, more about how he was created. And we get this fight between Wolverine and this other mutant girl who's, like, being controlled.
Yes, that's Lady Deathstrike, yeah.
Lady Deathstrike. So we get this fight between the two of them. They're kind of going neck and neck. We learn that, like, Lady Deathstrike also has claws, but they're not, like, in her knuckles. They're actually on her nails, which is a very interesting distinction. It gives it more of a feminine vibe to it. But even then, it's like, I adore this. I think that this is so cool. But also, there's a moment where we are fighting over the tank that he had been... Yeah, you know exactly where I'm going with this.
Yeah, because you were disturbed.
We get this moment where we're fighting over the tank, and she falls in, and he's still, like, surviving. He's trying to take, like, deep breaths. And she comes back up and starts stabbing him, gripping on his back. He's rolling over onto his side, attempting to reach the, what was it? It was like a hose.
Yeah, a pump full of molten adamantium.
And, yeah, at first he's just kind of, like, spraying it. He sprays it into her wound, and it hardens inside of her, and she dies. And it was the most disturbing thing I have ever seen. Because you can just see, you watch her as the life slowly drains out of her eyes. And I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, oh my God, what? Because that's, compared to some of the stuff that we saw him earlier just killing, not only is that cruel, but that's cruel even for his standards.
It is. The whole thing with Wolverine, he says it. I don't know if he doesn't say it in the movies, he says it in the comics, though. I am the best at what I do. Problem is, what I do isn't very nice. And we're kind of... It's interesting. I don't think that we realized back when these movies were coming out just how hardcore they were going.
But, like,
and how rough some of this really was.
And, like, but the other thing that adds on to it is that girl, she's innocent. She's being controlled by the liquid in the back of her neck. She probably didn't want to do that, but she got killed regardless.
From your perspective, yes, I'll give you that. Because I'm a comic book guy, she's not, but this is a different universe. You actually might be right about that. But that, it's funny because you're responding to the same thing that I'm responding to in the part that disturbs me. It's just in a different section. I think that soldier that Wolverine killed was innocent. He's doing his duty. He's doing his job. You feel like she's innocent. She didn't know what she was doing any more than like Nightcrawler knew what he was doing earlier on.
Or what's his name? Laser Guy didn't know what he was doing either. He was being controlled as well.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just, that was so cruel. And it kind of left me stunned for a good 15 minutes or so.
It really did.
I didn't like that. I feel like that was too much.
I find that interesting. Your reaction to things that I'm not reacting to. I love that. And there's a lot of stuff here. The idea behind what Stryker's originally trying to do with Xavier, by the way. Mm-hmm. So he's built his own version of Cerebro. This is something I kind of wanted to get your take on too, because since we're talking about disturbing stuff,
oh goodness,
Stryker wants Xavier to basically kill all the mutants. His idea is no more mutants. Mm-hmm. When I said that, that means nothing to you, but the hair on every Gen Xer's neck just stood up. See, this is a thing in the comics. Right around the time you were born.
Oh, goodness.
There was a big event. And the mutant population was decimated.
Oh, no.
Because one person went mad, and with those 3 words killed half the music, like she killed half the mutants and took away almost everybody's powers. Those 3 words, no more mutants. That was Wanda.
That was Wanda?
That was Scarlet Witch.
Oh, man. I always forget she's relevant here.
She is, because that's Magneto's daughter.
I knew that information, but did not know that information
but
in
did
context.
Not connect it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because they don't give that context in the movies, because legally they're not allowed to. That's kind of like the big unforgivable sin of Scarlet Witch, which may explain a little bit more of how poorly they've treated her in the MCU. I almost feel like that. But it's like we hit this years earlier. So there's still some comic book influence here. Let's talk about some happier stuff. Halle Berry has a better wig in this one. You're always kind of thrown off with Storm.
I love Storm. Storm is easily my favorite character in almost any X-Men series we end up in. I don't know why. There's just something about her that I really, really like.
But... And we love Halle Berry. Halle Berry's from Cleveland. Halle Berry is hometown girl. I've met people who knew her before.
But the wig's not long enough. If she doesn't have long hair, she's not Storm to me.
See, that's the thing. Halle Berry doesn't look good with really long hair.
I can get
so
that.
It's like we're trying the hair actually gets shorter each movie, but it's like the wig gets better for Halle, but not necessarily for Storm.
Listen, either you give her the long hair or you give her the bald mohawk. You can't you can't really get it in between.
You know what? And we've got X-Men movies coming up now that Marvel's got the rights back.
Oh no!
I'm rooting for Mohawk. I am absolutely
Mohawk
rooting
would be
for
great.
Mohawk.
She looks great with that hairstyle.
And that was Storm trying to redefine herself, trying to find herself in the comics, because Storm was rescued. I don't know if rescued, pulled, migrated somehow. Her heritage, it's Kenyan. And she was in a very primitive Kenyan tribe, and she was a goddess, which all of a sudden it makes perfect sense why you would love her.
Oh.
But she was considered a goddess.
Interesting.
And bringing her into the X-Men, it's a different dynamic. Now, Storm's always also had to keep tight control on her emotions because they're connected to her powers, something we don't see in the movies. For a while, she lost her powers even.
Oh.
And that's also around the time when she went completely punk with the mohawk and the biker jacket and the leather pants. But it was a good look for her. It's always silver and black.
Yeah.
Even the costume you're familiar with,
which like her
was
white
black
bodysuit
originally
and such. It's just I don't like the black. It doesn't look like Storm to me. It doesn't look right. I don't characterize her as that. She almost gives me the vibes as if like, you know, like I don't know, a younger sister or a sibling or something. Like, what was it? We watched The Little Mermaid too. Almost like Ursula's sister. It gave me kind of vibes like that.
You know what? Storm doesn't. She never gets her due in these. She never gets quite appreciated the way she should. Storm was one of the X-Men's leaders.
Yeah.
And I mean one of the leaders of the X-Men in the 80s and the 90s. And again, this is one of those reasons why I just rail against the Mary Sue or the girl boss, because I had Storm as the leader of the X-Men back then, and I didn't blink an eye. I was cheering her on. I loved her. I still do. So she never really does they never do her justice, and it is a shame. Because it's a fascinating character. At one point in the comics, she's married to T'Challa. She is the Queen of Wakanda.
That sounds. I need to see a picture.
And
of
does
that.
that
That
work?
sounds amazing.
Seriously, it makes sense.
They're both headstrong. I need to find a picture of this. Hold on.
Those two they work together. They manage some conflict.
Oh, dude, she looks amazing.
Does she not? Serious biz.
Look at that. Oh my god.
And it just fits. It's just right. Who knew? But it's just right.
Wow, that's amazing.
We don't get enough of her relationship with Wolverine either, because Wolverine is a primal animal.
Yeah.
And Aurora she's a goddess controlling the primal elements. The two of them understand each other possibly better than anybody else in Xavier's school.
Huh.
And see, now a lot of this though is me getting into X-Men lore. And now we've spent some time occasionally, especially when we're watching Superman and Lois, with me pointing out Superman lore. But Superman lore is it's just the comics. X-Men is almost a cult. I mean, X-Men it's its own thing. And it really was the biggest title in the world at this time.
I mean, I remember really liking the X-Men comics when I was little.
Mm-hmm. So there's so much here, and that's why I love all these little Easter eggs we see, all these cameos.
Does Storm actually believe that she's a goddess? Or does she just kind of go along with it? Because if she knows what the point of mutant is, I assume they would have done testing on her at some point and shown her human DNA.
She doesn't believe that she's divine, but there's still some of that with her. Her one great love is Forge, who is he's a Vietnam veteran. He's got some Native American ancestry in him. He's missing a leg.
Oh.
But his mutant power is I can build anything out of anything.
That's
Give me enough
amazing.
scrap and I will build you the world. So he builds his leg to replace it. you put him in the middle of a junk pile, and it's like, I give me a minute. I'm working it. I'll find you something. And
he would become my favorite. I know immediately because that's a character type that I really like.
And it's a tragic love story too. I'll have to find you a couple of those because I think you might really relate to it.
Oh.
It's just, and Forge is again one of those 80s fundamental X-Men. We get to see a lot of them. I love the ending here where it's them in the White House. You know what? I enjoy. I want to tour through the White House. I've never been. I didn't get to do that when I was a teenager. I'm fascinated by the building just as much as you're fascinated by the X Mansion.
I want to go all the exploring.
And you did. I'm like, you're like, do we get to see more of it? Like, yes, we do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because it's so dire. Yeah, you're pulling it up on your phone, and this is one of the great covers. I mean, just look at that.
It's so pretty.
They are so in love.
I love them.
But yes, I that last moment in the White House, and Xavier just stops time for a moment.
Yeah. How does he do the stopping time?
It's perception. He's not actually stopping time.
He's just making everybody else's minds freeze?
Right, because you can see the TV's going on behind it.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to lose an hour. And you just see, as the storm rages, flashes of each X-Men. Flashes of Rogue. Flashes of Nightcrawler. Flashes of Iceman. They're all there. And they're imposing, but they're not threatening. You know what? Okay, so this is the English major coming out of me, but those are two different things. Imposing versus threatening. I am a presence. I am here. I am a force to be reckoned with. But you're not necessarily in any immediate danger. But you should listen to me.
Yeah.
It's such good cinematography. It's such good writing.
I love how they have like Storm just doing the flashes of lightning.
Yeah.
Just to be dramatic. She's just there to help intimidate.
Mm-hmm. So, finally, we are back into the X-Men track. I've got a few more of these we're going to do. We're going to skip 3 because I don't like 3 and I think 3 falls apart. We're going to skip a bunch of these. We've got a few, though, left. We're going to do Days of Future Past. And, yeah, some of you are booing me, but there's some important stuff here, and the crossover is good. I want to give you a good foundation before we move on to further Deadpool.
I know.
Because especially, you were talking about, you want to see Deadpool versus Wolverine, but Deadpool versus Wolverine is the grand finale of the Fox universe. Yeah. And we still have Fox movies to go through yet, and we still have X-Men movies to go through yet. And if we do those first, I know, but if we do those first, then Deadpool versus Wolverine becomes something very special. Okay. So I want to take you through this properly. It's like I feel a responsibility to take you through this well, but in the meantime, it's been nice spending some time with X-Men again.
Yeah.
We maybe need to go back to the cartoon a little bit when we got some time in the...
Yeah.
Because...
The cartoon was really good.
Well, and the series is really good and a lot of eras. So, that's it for X2 tonight. We will be back with a little something different next week.
Bye.